Good evening.
Thank you. And right about now, we should be joined by viewers online, and we want to thank...
I don't see them.
They're out there.
Okay.
They're out there. We can feel them. And we want to thank New York Magazine's Vulture.com for partnering with the 92Y on the live stream. So welcome, everybody, and thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks, Vulture. Don't be mean to us.
So, you're a couple days out from premiere. I know you've been in the swirl of promotion and talking about Better Call Saul. Can you tell us what do you think are people going to be most surprised about to learn about Saul Goodman? People, you know, I'm guessing there's a few rabid Breaking Bad fans in the house.
That he's just a soft-hearted sweetheart, lovey-dovey plush toy, and not a mean jerk. He's a really, they've given him so many sides and so many dimensions in this new show, and I think I like him a lot. And in Breaking Bad, I wouldn't say I like that guy that much. I mean, I like playing him, but if I met him, I wouldn't hang out with him. But I do like Jimmy McGill a lot, and I think audiences will too. But Saul Goodman was always just the public face of this guy. His real name was James McGill. We learned that the first time we met him. That silly facade of an office, that ridiculous columns and the Constitution. It was always a show he was doing. And just a blown-up version of what anyone does when they go out in public and be the public face of themselves. And now we're going to meet him when he's with his family. Michael plays my brother, you know, off the stage, sort of. And we're going to see a lot more sides to him. So I think they'll be surprised at how much they like him. I think they'll be interested and surprised by how much it's like Breaking Bad and yet isn't Breaking Bad. I mean, same writers pretty much, and you know what I'm talking about because you've seen a couple episodes. I mean, there's Breaking Bad, that excellent taught true storytelling that these guys are great at, and yet it's its own thing, and So they're going to feel familiar with it, and yet it's going to feel fresh. It's a unique show.
You really do meet Jimmy. It is, you know.
Yeah, and sometimes even when we talked about it and how many new dimensions there were, we talked about is it still Saul though? But you also know that it is. I mean, you just see Saul everywhere in it. You see, there's one, in a scene there will be a run, or the whole scene sometimes will be that Saul, just he hasn't found himself yet.
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. And we are mindful of the fact that people haven't seen the episodes yet, so we're going to be very careful because none of us really want to deliver out a lot of spoilers.
They're very strict about that over at Shea Gilligan. These episodes are so beautifully crafted that you want to watch them as the writers intended. Yeah.
Jonathan, can you talk about, we're seeing Mike also in a very different context and very different, place than we came to know and love him even as bad as he was in Breaking Bad. Can you talk about
You see him in a different place. Michael's at a hard edge for a long time. You will learn how that edge got so hard. I've always said that he's the one character who knew that his soul was lost, and he doesn't forgive himself. And
in the course of this show, you learn a lot more about Mike, and without giving too much away, there's some very intense story where we just follow Mike and learn his past, and it's an incredible story.
Well, he was always a study in contrasts, and the hard fixer, but
and he's
also
very
the one who
self-aware. I mean, he's very aware of what he's lost, and yet he can't kind of get it back. Anyways,
well,
don't you think? Talking about your character.
Yeah.
We already know how it comes out.
What do you think, Michael?
I have no thoughts.
No.
I think it's great. Both cases, I was a big fan. I was just going to say I was a big fan of Breaking Bad, obviously, and just no matter what a character is, you always wonder what made him that way, and that's what this show is about. It's about as far as Jimmy goes and as far as Mike goes, and it was fascinating to read. I don't interact much with this guy, but I do a lot of work with him.
Mike has always been a separate entity and away from things while everything else happened, whether it's Breaking Bad or at this point, whether it's Call Saul. He's off in his own world with his own demons and the love of his granddaughter. And that's pretty much, you know, that's his only contact with the world. Any kind of normalcy is through his granddaughter.
We're anxious to get deeper into that. Now, Michael, you are the new entrant into this
the new
world.
kid.
How has it been for you to come into a setting that is somewhat specific, but also still performing?
Really fun to follow in the backdraft of a huge hit, obviously.
That's a good way to start. Yeah.
I had worked with Vince Gilligan on X-Files. He created a character that I did for String Up. We'll always have Dreamland. And it was about the hardest shoot I've ever been a part. It was just one of those, we're going into hour 16 now. You're not going anywhere just yet. In the desert all night. And I said, oh, this is so grueling. I love this guy, you know. And various times we tried to work together. Geographically, it didn't work out. And so when this came down the pike, I said, yeah, Odenkirk, Gilligan, what's not to like? So.
Banks?
That was a secret. They didn't tell me that. If they had told me that,
it might have been off.
I don't know.
But there is, again, without giving too much away, I mean, your character is a man with demons and neuroses, and you know,
something going on.
It's one of those fine lines, like you know. If it weren't in the hands of a great actor, it could really, some of the stuff that you have to play could look ridiculous.
When I first heard that I accepted, of course, without reading a thing. So I just, of course I want to work with you guys. And so he has an affliction, that's all I knew. And my nightmare was, after I'd accepted the role, we're going to Albuquerque, I was afraid that I'd get a call from Vince saying, well, it's rampant psoriasis. He's covered from head to toe in running sores. Now, first day makeup will be about 6.5 hours, maybe 7. But we'll get it down to 3.5, 4 by the end of the series. That was but when I found out what it was, I was relieved.
It's a lot for you to sink your teeth into.
But it's real.
It's fantastic.
Once you learn what it is, remember, it's not a fake thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah, and the time frame is also interesting.
Yeah.
It's 6 or 7 years prior.
For the events of Breaking Bad,
For the events of
and there, it skips around even more than that.
Yeah, it does.
It
does jump around in time, which is interesting. And it, like Breaking Bad, it just wonderfully gives the audience credit for brains. And it doesn't hit you over the head with everything. You have to pay attention, but you also really... It's just
I'll tell you something I was thinking. I mean, there are two things. First of all, Bob's workload in the beginning, because Jimmy's mouthy anyway, and Saul's mouthy. And then you write monologues on top of that. And I looked at Bob's workload and I thought, how in the name of God is anybody ever going to do that? And then you lost your voice for a while.
I did, yeah.
And I'm telling you.
That was during the mime episode, right? Worked out okay.
We just did.
But I'll tell you what has happened over a period of years, I mean, with Vince, because we watched that the opening episode. Vince always was humble, and he truly was, and he always admired the directors that came on. He learned from them, and all of a sudden, Vince really learned in the editing room that first scene in Call Saul is it's a gem. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was good. I honestly thought it was good around the 3rd or 4th show. I thought, this is pretty nice. And then we saw it the other night, and it's really good.
Well, you mentioned, of course,
Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould, who,
Yeah.
you know, none of us would be here without.
Really?
The show would not be here without.
None of us would be here?
in this
That's a deep
particular
statement there.
content. Well, you know, I mean, Vince Gilligan is a man of many talents.
Oh, you're right.
But, I mean,
You were asking me before we came out, is there anything I wanted to talk about? And it's very hard to talk about the show without having a writer here, or talk about what's good about the show without the writers talking, because it all starts with that and more even than that, because these guys, whatever, we all saw what was in those scripts, and we saw what an opportunity we had. And when I get these compliments, as I've gotten quite a few, I immediately think of the writers trusting me with that material and going that far into a character and a moment, and it's astounding. So, yeah.
props to Vince
Yeah.
Gilligan and Peter
Peter
Gould.
Gould and
Vince-
Jenny.
And to the props department, too.
You know,
Well, I
Here
gotta
I'm
tell
trying
you,
to be honest.
we are so close with that crew that I'm telling you, the props department hears that. Yeah. You're gonna
Betcha.
know.
No.
I mean, Jonathan, that must be a nice element, though, for you, because from
Oh,
what I
it's
understand, a lot of the below-the-line people are
Well,
people that also worked on.
there's not been one award show, whether it was Vince or it was Brian or it was Aaron or it was Anna, whoever was getting the award, that they did not mention the crew. And you hear, you know, there was a review in a book review that I read that was talking about Hollywood and about everybody always says how nice it is and it's good, and they went, well, you get the idea. I've done this professionally for 47 years since I got my first paycheck, and over again, we've said about that crew, that best crew I've ever worked with.
Hands down.
Michael's done it a long time. Michael's just coming to Albuquerque right now, and did you
World
say?
class. No, incomparable.
Yeah. And
So
they
lucky us.
become friends. But I'll tell you what I do think, and I'm just thinking about it today, is that everybody got a little better. I mean, most people say about Breaking Bad, the show got better and better and better as it goes on. But I see these writers, and I feel like, too, as great as they are, I watch them. They're not afraid to learn, for one thing. I don't care how trite that sounds. They learn, and they move, and they go forward. And how lucky we are to be able to work with them.
Yeah, and when you talk about the props and all the departments, and what you see is that, you know, the writers are bringing it hard and sweating every detail, and oftentimes you have questions about a line, why am I saying it that way, or, you know, and they'll have an answer. 9 times out of 10, they'll go, oh, well, here's why we didn't say a simpler way, or they know, they thought it through every word and how it was laid out. So they've thought through it all. And that excellence and commitment goes across the board on this crew. And the props guys, they don't ever phone it in. They've given all this thought, and they're right there ready to make changes and make things better. And so that just, to look around yourself on a set and see all that excellence in play, it's encouraging to you and challenging to you. And it's a wonderful experience and super rare. So,
Trina, Maddie, John,
Yeah,
the
there
3
you go.
people you work with in props most of the time.
yeah. Good job, buddy.
It's good.
I had Tria.
Trina.
With Trina.
Yeah, man.
Well, there is such just intricate to the world that, you know, Jimmy's office is in this wonderful, you know, nail salon that just has all these elements.
You found
to
it wonderful?
It was. I mean, you just felt like you were in a, you know, a strip mall.
Well, you were.
Just fantastic.
That's where we shot it. But I know what you mean, yeah. And what a, yeah.
It's
And
And that ties into Breaking Bad, of course, because when he wants to launder money in Breaking Bad, he immediately thinks of that kind of business. So that's where people have asked me, do you need to know Breaking Bad? And I'd leave it to you to answer that. I don't think you do to care about this show and to like this show. In fact, my daughter, who's never seen Breaking Bad, she loved the pilot and really loved the character. But if you've seen Breaking Bad, a choice like that, which is organic to this show and fun in this show on its own, again, resonates even more with you.
Mm-hmm. What I found interesting was by episode 3, you're so deep into that world that you're not so much thinking about Breaking Bad as much. You're really
well. I think
there's
that
little bits
when you think about doing a show after such a massive phenomenon as Breaking Bad that's so loved, and you ask yourself, are we doing this for the right reasons? Multiple times, and the answer was yes. From Vince and Peter, organically coming up with the character and the curiosity for the story here. Then your choice is, I guess, to sit around addressing Breaking Bad all day or just forget it and tell your new story. And that's what they did. They just said, let's just hit the ground running. Which they do, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I do, you know, it's our close cousin. Close cousin's always going to be living just down the road there somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you know, again, you talk about Dean Norris the other night drove up from Temecula when they did the premiere. It's 2 hours, heavy traffic, LA.
In Los Angeles, yeah.
Just to come to pay respect, as did everybody else.
It was amazing. We had the cast of Breaking Bad at the premiere. It was great. Mm-hmm. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Too big, though. It was way too big. It was 60 feet high. Yeah, it's too big for a TV.
Oh,
the screening of the episode, yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
How,
it's personal.
given the, given the depth of camaraderie, but Vince has been very vocal about saying that, Saul is its own entity, and he's even said that he does not see in the first season a cameo from Bryan Cranston or Aaron Paul, that there's a real feeling that this.
Well, but Jesse would be in middle school, remember.
But he'd still be in trouble. He'd still be in trouble.
But Aaron Paul's a brilliant actor, but he can't play 11.
Yeah, gotcha. Gotcha, true.
Don't be so sure.
Yeah.
Little CGI.
I mean, he played 20, right? Christ on a crutch.
What's also interesting is it very much has its own pace. Very much has its own pace.
I've been told by the producers who've seen them all, I've only seen one, you've seen more than me, that every episode, the whole 10, each feels different than the others. But not in a kitchen sink way, but like each is molded carefully with a different pace, tone. That second one is, to me, the most like Breaking Bad, but I'm going off remembering reading it. But they're all a little different, and they all work together, but there's no formula here. Mm-hmm. Here, I think the writers, because I'm here, why not conjecture? Let's all conjecture, shall we? Here, I really kind of feel like Vince and Peter, all these people love Breaking Bad. They're going to give us a chance here. We don't have to dance too fast for them. Mm-hmm. They're going to watch. So now, let's just go far. Let's go as far as fast as we can, because it's rare that you get to start a show with as much goodwill and people they're informed as to the pacing of their storytelling and the sort of temperature of it. And they're cued into it because they watch Breaking Bad. So the confidence that they tell this story with is amazing. That opening, I mean, I don't want to, I wish I could say.
I'm telling you, you're gonna
I mean, but the confidence of that is crazy.
Well, it strikes such a chord. Can you talk about because it does have its own unique, just very unique pacing and storytelling style that it's not clear to me, even after 3 episodes, will there be any element of like case of the week for Jimmy in this, or is it you're laying track for a longer
The answer is no.
No.
No, they're telling a story on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing procedural about this show. And yeah, but hopefully the audience is ready for it. And
it's going to be fun right all the way through the season because Bobby was so knee-deep in work. And I'd stand back and I'd watch him. But you just were. And I'm thinking, I'm watching, and the ghosts were lingering out in the sound stages about who's coming around the corner. And somewhere around the third or fourth show, I went, this is really good. And at the very end of the season, they, as they always do, they will make it a great ride for you. And away you go, even at the end of the season. At the end of the season, you want to see the next show.
Yeah, good.
And of course, it's very great to know that there is a second season.
Yeah, we get to do another season. It's AMC and Sony have placed a lot of faith in us. They ordered that second season after they'd seen a couple weeks of dailies, so they didn't do it, but that's still amazing. No. But they'd seen something and sort of, I think, probably felt like, okay, there's something going on here. And of course, they trust Vince and Peter, and they've just been amazing for us. I mean, AMC and Sony, the trust they've put in us. Everyone's taking that trust from the audience and from the producers, the companies producing, and tried to go somewhere special with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How has it been for you transitioning from a supporting player to, being?
Well, this is going to sound like a wise-ass comment, but I did treat it like it's just a bigger part. I have more lines than I usually have. Mm-hmm. Because I think I would just get intimidated. I've had so many people ask me, what's it like to be the star? And I'm like, I'm an actor and my part talks more. That's the only, what is the other thing I have to do? That I don't see any other job here that it's called being a star.
But you do have a ton to
I have a lot of words to remember. No, I had listen, I had so many words. Okay, a couple things about that. One, there came a point where I said I need another day on an episode. I said, I can't do this. I think I had 30 pages of dialogue in 3 days. And I go, I can do this poorly if you want that.
Yeah.
And the producers and Sony said, we'll give you another day. And
which is a financial decision.
It's a financial choice.
It's not just a time thing.
No.
But I really hit a wall there. But I wanted to do it well, and lucky we were in Albuquerque. I've grown to love Albuquerque, but I do love Albuquerque.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I love Albuquerque
my family
too.
isn't there. My family isn't there. You jerky ass New Yorkers. Mean. You're mean. You're mean. Listen.
Bobby, what is it you love about Albuquerque?
Well, there's that one restaurant.
That one.
The Thai place. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
No.
Good.
The
good
Bosque
diner.
Trail, all the bike paths,
The graveyard.
mellow.
Turquoise Trail up to Santa
Stop
Fe.
it.
Come on.
The sky, which you can see.
Sky.
You guys ought to
Thunderstorms.
see the sky sometime.
Beautiful
You'll
thunderstorm.
be surprised.
Pretty awesome.
It
And
is
we've
the
got
sky.
tire stores,
Now-
Walmarts, Costco's,
No,
as far as
hey,
you can see.
We have
Scorpions, tarantulas. What do you like?
guys,
No,
we have to go back there.
I love it. I love it.
Love it.
I always have a good time.
But the sky is beautiful.
This guy's awesome.
But I didn't have my family. It is amazing. Okay.
How about that
So
sky?
I was able.
I'll tell the world.
I'm not kidding. I was able to concentrate on my work. There was nothing going on there for me. Shut up. Shut up. I didn't find the independent bookstore until the 9th week. So I didn't even know they had one. And then I found it. Anyway,
They have a history
I was able to
section
work.
about
I was
that
able to
big.
work
That was
hard.
the history section. It was,
You're going to cut all that out, right? I was able to focus and do this huge job, and I had a lot to memorize. And one part of it was when it was nearing the end, we had to do DVD commentary, and I couldn't remember what happened. They were like, "Okay, we're doing show 4 now," and I'd be like, "Well, I don't know."
well, they were better to you.
And
I'm
they
gonna
had to
say
tell
that-
me.
I'm going to say this. When they give me stuff, my writers, and all of a sudden I realize the makeup department has a script, the wardrobe department has a script, my Teamster brothers have the script, and I'm going, you think I could see it because there's a lot to say here? Yeah, it's coming. Don't worry.
Amazing.
It's true.
It's very good.
It's true. You'd laugh a little more at that. I'd appreciate it.
How much, is there any I mean, what's great about Jimmy, I guess we should really call him Jimmy because that's, that's the character. With those great rapid fire, almost screwball comedy.
Yeah.
Is there any part of that that's improvised ever? Do you ever
No,
just
I don't improvise any of it. None of it.
Every word comes out of the writer's room.
Every single word. Not only that, I try to do it exactly as written. I don't do it exactly as written, but I come pretty damn close, and that's my goal every time. It's something I learned on Breaking Bad, where I had the script, and I had Saul Goodman, and I had so many monologues in there, and I thought, I've done so much comedy, and in comedy, you do change the script, and there's even on set, like, whatever you want to say, just as long as you tell them to get out of here.
And you are a writer. I mean, you have a long
And I'm a writer,
history as
and
a
I've
writer.
written a lot of things, and I like when they're done as written, but there's a lot of play in comedy. And so I got the script. I didn't bother to memorize it because I figured the blue pages were going to come, and all these monologues were going to become 2 lines. And I got the blue pages, which are the last changes before you go shoot. And 1 word had been changed. A day, like a Thursday, was changed to Wednesday. And I was like, oh, so you really want me to learn this? All right. And I started thinking about a lot of things, like one of the things I did was I did it in a Robert Evans voice. Robert Evans, tell you a story.
I don't think they do.
Worst day of my life. It was actually the best day of my life. Like, he does all this sing-songy stuff, and he stops and goes, and it makes him really fun to listen to. And that just made me think about, cadence and what you can do with a longer monologue to make it interesting. And so I played with that, but I also, while I was doing it, I was like, maybe I should ask to change this line, or I say it easier, it comes out of my mouth this way, and it just occurred to me like, well, this isn't me. This is a guy named Saul Goodman, and he says it like this, and what would it be like if I tried to really act? And what would that be like? What would it be like? A whole new world. But really, as a challenge. And so I've carried through with that, and I've gotten a lot of compliments on the funny lines he says, and people always assume, because I did comedy and do comedy, that I write those. I don't write any of it, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of working as an actor and making that sound like it came out of that character.
And just delivering it, I mean, is.
Also, what you learn about a character by doing it exactly as written. Because it doesn't speak the way you speak, you become that other person, and you ask yourself, who does say that like that, and what are they getting at if they talk in that cadence and that string of words in that order? And it makes you conjure up a different person than yourself. Yeah.
And both of you two, I mean, and your characters are so different, or such contrasts to Jimmy. I mean, Mike is the master of, menace with just a
We're
few
a
words.
great team. And I wish I could give it away, but we have some scenes where we're in very close physical proximity. And the tension is hilarious. If Laurel and Hardy, if they wanted to kill each other.
Sometimes he did want to kill him.
I'm the mouth, he's the muscle, and there's no brain. There's the brain. The brain's at home.
Afraid to leave the house.
Afraid to leave the house. What a team we would make. The three of us.
I got the desk job.
What do you? But again, given that you do have that writing gene, do you ever anticipate writing an episode about Call Saul?
No, I don't want to. I've directed as well, and I wouldn't direct either.
If they let you write an episode, I will fall over dead. They are so protective. They are so protective of their writing.
Ridiculous.
Oh my God.
Going and acting and just committing to that job fully, completely, has been a crazy gift. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, and high praise to you, Bob. You know, the showrunners in their rounds of promoting the show have really given you a lot of credit for, just as Bryan Cranston set a very, you know, strong and professional tone on Breaking Bad, that you've just easily stepped into that and just setting the tone of it being about the work and. You know,
I wear shoes on the set. Yeah, they've been very nice. I mean, Cranston set the standard for professionalism and excellence. So I'm just doing my job. Also, I got these guys, so they'd kick my ass if I didn't do it right. But I mean, seriously, these guys are crazy.
Would kick his ass.
They would kick.
You'd kick his ass.
But Banks would kick my ass. He would do it just for laughs, so I don't have to do anything wrong.
Just for
and Michael McKean is one of the great pros in American acting, and working with opposite him. And he knows how good this role is too, believe me.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot for you to sink your teeth into.
When did you say did you really seriously say yes to it off just like the team? So when you got it, that must have been another revelation of like, holy shit, this is a deep
holy
role.
Shit, this doesn't happen every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that like?
It was great. It was like I still didn't know what the hell it was.
Right.
You know? I used to have this nightmare. If a guy calls and he says, "We're doing King Lear." Oh, that's great. We want you to play Lear. Oh my God, that's great. It takes place in outer space. You've said yes to the wrong thing. There was no worry like that here. I knew it was because I knew Vince's work and because I knew the world it was coming from. Obviously, I knew Saul Goodman. Yeah, of course I said yeah. And it was just great. The more I found out about it, the more weird and lovely it sounded like. So
yeah,
and
very happy.
This was your first commitment to a regular series role, not just a guest shots and recurring role in a long time.
In a long time.
TV series,
yeah.
So
I would have to say.
Again, yeah.
Yeah.
High praise. Well, I mean, just the fact that murderer's row of writers that could have all gone on to run their own show and do their own, many of them came back because it's like, it's like they didn't want to break up the band.
We get scripts sometimes where things are marked out completely. You don't know what's coming yet until the very end. I mean, when did the last two shows, right?
Yeah, stuff's blacked out like crazy. You can't.
They want to keep it even.
We get canceled.
We got canceled
Sony
on page 24. That's the worst way to go.
You can shoot it, but just cut every other line. Save some money.
But I mean, that's just to protect.
It's to keep the story a
and,
secret too. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Need to know basis. I guess.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
And apparently, my Teamster brothers need to know before I do.
He's got a bee in his bonnet over this.
Well, I mean, I can't give it away, but oh my God.
Yeah. He's. Oh.
Never mind. We can't. Anyhow, Cynthia.
Let's talk about.
How are things of variety?
We're pretty good, thank you. Thank you very much.
You still come out on Wednesday?
Tuesday.
Oh, see, it used to be Wednesday when I was growing up.
It used to be Wednesday, yeah. Moves around. Used to be, Let's talk about your other cast members. You know,
Ray Seahorn.
Hey.
Seahorn, thank you. She plays. I mean, I think we can disclose a little. You know, she plays. Her character is Kim. She's a lawyer.
She comes from comedy, by the way. Done a lot of comedy.
From a lot of sitcoms, yeah. Did you know her? I mean, let's talk
no,
about
I never knew her. Never knew her, and never worked with her. And
she plays your love interest.
She plays my love interest, and she's beautiful and smart as hell. And her character is smart as hell.
Great.
And she's tough. You know, she's like her character in a lot of ways. And she's amazing. You're going to love her, and you find her funny and very intelligent character.
I think it seems like, just from what I've seen, that there's going to be a good story as to how these two ever got together in the first place, because there's kind of that question.
You know
like,
what's really great about it? I do think people will relate to the relationship. Are they right for each other, or are they just great partners? Are they just kind of sparring partners? If you've ever had that in your life, and I have, where somebody you connect with, but maybe you shouldn't be together, or maybe you should just be friends. I don't know. It's hard to tell when you have a great chemistry. And these two characters have that struggle of like, we're just great together, but should this go further? And then they have other complications that keep them trying to sort that out as well. And Patrick Fabian is wonderful in a character that would, in most shows, be a purely evil, thin, just specter of badness. And he plays him with a kind of open-eyed, like straightforward.
Are you deliberately
quality.
not saying white bread?
He is white bread.
White bread and white shoe.
White shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and it's what Vince wanted. This guy who, to my character's mind, is his nemesis, but to the audience's mind, might be not a nemesis at all. Like, it's hard to say. You know, you look at the interaction between me and Patrick, and this is a tribute to how Patrick played it. There doesn't seem to be any animosity, and yet what he's doing is fucking me over. But there's just none in his face. He's just, hi, yeah. And so you're not sure if he's putting on a show or if he's genuine about his interaction, and therefore my character is just reading everything wrong. And it's really wonderfully played. Right. It's wonderfully written and played. And then there's Michael Mando, who's on a show called Orphan Black.
Right.
And I've never seen that show, but I've heard he's wonderful, and I think he's very proud of his work here. And he plays, you've seen Vince write a lot of very scary bad guys, and Peter as well, Vince and Peter and all the writers. But this character, there's stuff going on in his head, and you can see it in his eyes. So he becomes a character who you can't put him in a box so easily. And he's almost more scary, because you can see him thinking.
And they're all three really nice people. Ray, Patrick, Michael, and that's enough about them. Go on. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, they're not here.
Again, mindful of spoilers. In what I've seen, we really haven't seen, the 3 episodes I've seen so far, we really haven't seen Mike in his, in the role that we knew him in Breaking Bad. Do we, without giving too much away, does Mike have that dimension as Better Call Saul goes on, or is this really?
I said in the beginning, Mike's had his hard edge a long time.
Right.
And sometimes you learn about just how hard it gets. Now, I can't say anything because both Michael and I have never been to media training. Neither one of us.
Media training is like a TED Talks that they give actors. Now, don't tell them this.
And
tell them that.
If they say the wrong thing, they take away our bowl of food, they put us in the backyard, and they swat us with the newspaper.
Did
Yes, Cynthia, go ahead.
Do you, I mean, because you got the familiarity with the showrunner and the creators, is there anything about this that is very different from the way Breaking Bad worked? I mean, it sounds like, the scripts are coming to you very, very intricately.
You're talking about great writers who will then give you, it's like looking at another novel coming along, and their writing does unfold like a novel over and over again. And they don't have a 6 o'clock hour where things dump. It moves, it gets better and better and better as it goes forward. That's what I'm seeing anyway.
I thought the experience was similar in a lot of ways as far as just making the show to Breaking Bad. But I suppose there was, I came to Breaking Bad at the end of the second season, and there was a lot of discovery on this show.
And you was one of those cases where you were so good in the role that was meant to be much smaller than it turned out.
It was supposed to be 3 or 4 episodes.
You acted your way
did you know, because I was doing How I Met Your Mother and could not do that 4th episode.
Wouldn't want to miss that job.
Because I... Did you have lemon pie for dinner? Because I couldn't do that other episode, they added this character of Mike. So thank God.
Who owes who now?
Thank God.
Well.
That's serendipity.
I'll tell you one of the fun things about doing that. I came in, it was snowing, it was da-da-da-da, and I saw it, and I said to Jenny, my wife, I said, when I got back, I said, I think I work with this kid that's really good. I think he's good. We aren't, right? But it's a thing, that scene where I'm down there and his girlfriend is OD'd, and I reached down and I slapped the piss out of him, which wasn't in the script.
It was in your contract, that was.
But it seemed you're trying to get somebody's attention. Seems reasonable. Yeah, and he never has forgiven me, and he always brings it up. He whines about it to this day.
And was it hard?
Yeah, I had it pretty good.
I'm just processing poor Aaron Paul.
I've got to say, I've been doing this touring and talking to people, and I am astounded at the goodwill we're getting from people. And I told Vincent Peter, I think it's because people can tell how hard they worked, and it's an honest offering. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate it so much. I can't tell you. Thank you. Thanks for coming out. Thank you.
But there is, for all of you, for the writers and for the actors, there's a certain, courageous aspect, because you are going to be compared inevitably to the Citizen Kane of TV dramas.
Yeah.
It's the one where Rosebud turns out to be a shark, right?
I know. Maybe
how many
I'm
times
not,
have you
maybe
said
I'm
that
not.
today?
Maybe there's some thing wrong with me, but I'm just not.
You're not nervous about it?
Well, no, I'm not that scared of it. I hope people like this show, and I hope they'll give it a chance, because I do think it's a unique show that will take a little while to really figure out. But I can't worry about that.
Okay, I'm going to say it because I've been sitting here thinking about it, and now I'm going to be trite and I'm going to be maudlin. I'm going to sound, however, Bobby doesn't know how good he is, and I really believe that.
Don't tell me. Don't ever tell me. It'll go right to my hip.
Well, that's just our opinion.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Thank you.
But the goodwill is just incredible for the show and for the characters.
It is.
Isn't it?
Well, we can't. I don't know what to say. It's hard to. it's like it's weird.
So you're done now? You're done with the first?
We shot the first 10, and we finished them a few months ago, actually. Yeah.
Gotcha. So you guys really you do know how to keep a secret.
Although I recorded a line last night.
Did you?
Yeah, that they're going to lay over just on my phone.
It's so exciting.
Can you tell? Will it blow anything? Can you tell us what the line was?
Oh, it would blow a joke. It's a
No,
great,
no.
funny line.
All right.
That's good.
That's great.
I go on and tell it.
Do you, I mean, Jimmy has so many great lines. I know that it must be overwhelming to you, but do you ever get the scripts and just say, like, I can't wait to go into this
Oh my God,
particular...
yes. Absolutely. I had so many wonderful scenes, and I think you both probably had the same feeling of like, holy shit, I get to do this.
Yeah.
And then you sit
Right
down-
after the Teamsters read it.
After the Teamster says to you, holy shit, you get
John,
to do
have
that?
you seen that script? No, I haven't.
You know, you need to get your Teamsters card. You'll get the scripts.
I got one.
Yeah, I mean, wow. And, you know, then I just start to think about how do I do this scene well, and that becomes almost like a athletic thing where it's like, okay, on this day I'm going to do this monologue, so I'm going to eat this food the night before, and I'm going to work out here because I want to sleep well and have good energy for, and you know, and then you really just want to manage this thing so you can deliver on every take, and that you can get to it, because you know we're not the fastest set in the world, but we can't take forever to shoot a scene. And so you can't show up unrehearsed. I mean, you need to nail it, like at least the lines. And you have 2 or 3 takes to get to, I think, where you're on solid ground, and then you can dig. And so you really have to plan and focus. And I felt real good about when I walked away from that set. I felt like I left it behind. I left it on the field, right? That's the term, and I did feel that way. So I was able to walk away going, good, you know? Yeah, it's amazing some of these pieces that they let me do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, before we open it up, we're going to open it up to audience Q&A, but I have to ask, is there any room, is there any role for David Cross?
Wouldn't that be great?
He's got the tattoos.
It would be so good. It would be so good. Well, Vince is a huge Mr. Show fan, Peter too. So maybe I would love to see that, and David certainly could do it. He's a great actor.
That's all right. There are people running around with microphones.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Ask you to wait till the microphone comes.
What a nice theater.
Just don't ask us what happens. Yeah.
I have a question for Michael, actually. I was just wondering how much of your preparation for the role came from just the way you would prepare for any role where you read a script and try to get into it, and then how much of it came from Breaking Bad and knowing that whole universe?
Very little of the latter, quite a bit of the former, with the corollary that I didn't see a script until very late. But I love that. I love the kind of late delivery. Here's what you do here. Just have a nice general thread through. I did a little research on Chuck's problem, or interlocking series of problems, and just tried to find a way to get into a groove, and counted on professionals to tell me, yeah, that's the groove we want you in, or you're way off. So yeah, preparation was just, like anything else, the main thing is to find out what your character wants and then go get it. That's how to act, you know, in a nutshell. The more story that is poured on has something to do with any other show that my character might have seen on TV, because I did, you know. But this is 2002, and you know, it's a brand new thing as far as I'm concerned. It's like anything else.
Bob or Jonathan, did you watch old episodes of Breaking Bad in preparation?
No, I don't even like to. I really like to be fresh with the scene I'm doing, and I have been worried about even watching this show at all, because I don't want to picture myself doing the lines ever. I always want to just be that guy and not see myself as the character. I have to do it because the DVD commentary. But really, I got a lot of shit for saying, you know, I didn't see Breaking Bad until the 3rd season, but I had little kids at home, and I also really approached it, I took it very seriously. And I approached it that, you know, my job here is to be this character in this moment, wanting what he wants, trying to get it, and not caring or knowing what happens off screen with other characters. And I didn't want that to inform me at all.
Or what happens in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, we're living our lives without a real clear picture of the future, and that's what everybody's life is, and that's what every character is as you're developing it over the course of a season.
I didn't even read the outlines. They send you outlines, well, if I'm in the Teamsters, but they send me outlines. I didn't read them. It's like I want to keep it as to the moment as possible.
And I don't go back. I mean,
You never look back.
20 years from now, I'll still be working on Mike's backstory about who Mike was. So that's my answer. I'll never figure it out, but I just try to respect it. And Michelle McLaren, one of the directors, I thought I will tell you something that's funny. We're doing Call Saul, and the only direction I've gotten from Vince Gilligan in 3 years that I can remember, I'm in the booth, and he's behind the monitors over there somewhere, and he looks out, I look out, and he goes, "Less stink eye." And I knew exactly what he meant. That was it. And away we went.
You were squinting just a little too much, that kind of thing?
Yeah, a little. Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha. Let's see. Let's get a question over here.
Bob?
Yes,
Hi. So you've done so much.
Yes, God.
Hello. You've done a lot of sketch comedy and character work, obviously. I was just wondering if you ever got kind of restless being the same person for so long.
That would be a worry that I would have had if these writers weren't so good. Honestly, I would. I did think about, you know, if you commit to a series and it's lucky enough to carry on, well, you have to be that guy. But I'm telling you, there's nothing formulaic about this show at all. I mean, it's just going down, you know, its own road and discovering itself as it goes. And so it's always fresh. It's an incredible role. You won't believe they let me do it. You won't believe they let me do it. I'm not being humble.
It's interesting because the point you make about not being formulaic, even Breaking Bad had the basic engine of knowing that the character had cancer and was, you know, was facing death and, you know, these problems. With this show, where it's much more of a you're into this world and you're trying to figure out who this guy is, but there's not that.
Yeah, there's no parameters around it, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did have that worry, but I also thought it was not really, I didn't have to invest in it much because I knew these writers were so good. And then in the end, there was no concern at all because there's nothing repetitive about it.
Can you provide a little insight as to the process and schedule when you get a script, when you start shooting, how many days on average it might be an episode you might shoot for an episode, and then how that might compare to other series you guys have been involved with in the past?
Well, these guys have probably done more series than I have. I can only compare it to Breaking Bad. The goal was always to shoot, I think it was an 8-day shoot, but we only made that happen one time, I think, maybe 2 times. Part of that was because I had a lot to do, and at one point I asked for an extra day, and then they became more sensitive to that, and it was just a challenging show, production-wise, so they often had to add days. We had up to 13 days sometimes. Wow. As far as getting scripts, as Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould take as long as they can possibly get to write and rewrite and rewrite. So you get the first script 3 weeks before the first show, then the second script comes 2 weeks before, then you start to get into 1 week and 4 days, and by the end of the season, it's a few days. But it's got to be enough to rehearse, because this isn't a show where you show up and kind of generally get the lines right. You nail it. That's your job, and you need time to do that. You need time to prep that. So they always gave us that.
There's nothing worse than an actor who will come on with their sides on, and they're going, got it. And you want to go, motherfucker, maybe you really better go get it. And it's just, yeah, Michael and I have seen it over a period of years. And you're not talking about bad people. You're talking about somebody who, like, geez, they love puppies, they have kids, they want to go out to lunch with them. But there can be a very bad thing. And listen, I just did a film. Well, never mind. I can't tell that story. No. This is somebody I really like.
Change the names.
Somebody I really like, and he plays some bad people. But he came up in a thing of seeing other actors, action figures, that were doing that. And he's a smart guy, but that's all he ever knew. And he got his job the first time by walking onto a set because it looks like somebody beat him with a frying pan in the face. And he said, oh, you want to be in this film? And it was a good film, and he's good, and he is. But it takes him, after about 7 takes, maybe, if it's a scene, he's there, and finally, I'm saying to him, and it's somebody I like, but I'm saying, you gotta give me a cue. You gotta let me know when I'm coming in here.
Yeah.
And anything that we have done, and we do with these writers out of such respect, you better be saying their words correctly. It's what I'm sure a lot of you have been out there have been taught. That you say every word on that written page, and it's not up to you to start improvising. You know, somewhere down the line. I mean, I'll tell you something. Well, I could go on forever. Never mind.
No, let's hear it. You're going to tell us about an improvising moment?
Well, I just did. I mean, these boys, I did Horrible Bosses too. I haven't seen it, but you know, 3 good guys. They're good guys. They're good guys. But they're up there, and it's not my cup of tea. Those films where everybody's doing it, you know. And I did say to him, as they're in the middle of their improv, and I'm standing there and I'm waiting, and I did say to him, I said, I'll tell you what, motherfuckers. I said, when you're ready, you tell me what the cue is. And I smiled. I like these guys. But but you got to have a cue. You got to have a cue.
You ever have that other guy who learns his lines before he comes in, and he's letter perfect, and it never changes? It never, ever inches beyond exactly what... That drives me crazy in another way.
Well, there's a lot of things that drive you crazy, Michael. What are you talking about?
So we're not really living. If I'm watching, if I'm hearing the punctuation that you saw on the page the first day, then you're not doing anything.
Did you, with your other core cast members, did you kind of vet these people to make sure that they worked at the same, at the same bar?
Well, I did, but Vince and Peter did, and they did. They were amazing. Mostly. There was some smaller parts that had to be
oh, that was great.
Altered.
There was these guys came in. I'm not going to blow it, but these guys came in, and in that first show, it's parking lot attendant, right? And they hadn't seen Breaking Bad, and I walked in, and I sat next to the bench with them, and I'm trying to talk to them, and they're kind of yeah, that's nice, go away, and they're blowing me off, and I came back a little while later. I tried to sit next to them and talk to them. And and they're talking, and I thought, well, okay. And the next day I came in, and I don't know, somebody had said something. The guy said to me, "You're not just a parking lot attendant?" And I went.
More stink eye. More
More
stink
stink eye.
Get to our next question out here.
Michael and Bob, you obviously have deep roots in comedy, and Jonathan, we're seeing your comedy chops tonight as well. And I guess Saul was comic relief in what was otherwise a very dark show. And I guess my question is, are we going to be seeing a much more lighter side to this world with this show, or will there be elements of darkness as well?
Well, you know,
Pretty dark.
it's pretty dark. But I'll tell you the thing about that. I walked away from the show and the shooting, and in my mind, I was thinking about all the heavy scenes. There's a lot of serious, strong drama in here. And I thought maybe it was too dramatic or dark. And then I watched the first episode, and it reminded me how funny it is to see Saul in trouble. And I thought, oh, so for me, it was, 10 episodes of trouble. But for the viewer, it's 10 episodes of comedy. I mean, it really is. You do smile when this guy is in deep shit. It makes you want him to get out, but you're also kind of going, oh, you idiot, oh. And you're kind of grinning. And so it is both those things. It's very serious, and the stakes are high, and they go higher, and it's traumatic for the character, but you kind of grin through most of it. Not all of it, but most of it.
No, you don't grin through all of it.
Not all of it.
Your scenes with Michael or
We have
in
some
the very beginning. Again, we can't blow it, but I'll bring you darkness.
Yeah. And he will bring you darkness. You'll see.
We have no doubt. Let's see.
All right, so this question is for Mr. Jonathan Banks, but
Where are you?
I'm over here.
That's a
Yeah, in the audience. He's in the audience, John.
back there. Yeah. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. So the kind of fixer character who like cleans up a highly illegal mess, that's like shown up in a lot of TV shows and movies. Have you taken any inspiration from other kinds of characters from other media, or is it like, where does your inspiration for Mike come from?
Well, my ego is bigger than that, and I don't want to take from anybody, and I'm sure I steal from everybody, quite honestly. But without getting into it a lot, some of the guys I grew up with, we were pretty much, our draft board was Vietnam fodder, and a lot of them came out, and some of them are still very dear to me. And I can't get into it too much, just out of what? Respect for my friends. But I've been around a long time. Can I get out of it that way? I've been around a long time. Thank you. Don't push it.
Our next question.
Hey, how are you guys? I was just wondering, Bob, when you were playing Saul Goodman, did you ever sort of think about his backstory and where he came from?
Oh, yeah.
And if so, how did it differ from the new character in this show?
Well, I had some ideas when I played Saul in Breaking Bad, some that were fairly obvious and not that meaningful, I suppose, like that he's from Chicago, because I'm from Chicago, and Chicago's a place where a person like Saul would maybe do very well. and draw from his environment. And I'm a big fan of Mike Royko's books, like Boss and all. And so that, and I had thoughts about, his father and his family, but I didn't share those with Vince and Peter because they work for me in the character of Saul, and then in this character of Jimmy McGill, they've come up with other unique takes on that also work logically and have emotional logic to them. I love this opportunity I have to act and not write and not control it, but rather learn from the script and be inspired by other people's imaginations and talents. It's been a new experience for me. When I first sat down in the set at Breaking Bad to do my first scene as Saul, my brain immediately did what it's done for 20 years before, which was go, how much time do we have on this set? Are those lights in the right place? Is that camera really where it should be? Who's next? What's the next scene we're shooting? All this shit that has been fucking clouding my brain because I've been the producer and the director and writer of so much of what I've done. And I, immediately went, you don't have to do that shit. All you got to do is be this guy. All you got to do is want what he wants. All you got to do is completely believe in him and believe in what he believes in and just live him. And that was a wonderful, freeing experience, and I continued to pursue it. So when Vince and Peter and I sat down months before we did this show and we kicked around who he could be, I just toss in something here or there, but I let them talk. And it's been, and that's the relationship I want to have with it. So I haven't tried to control it or contribute much to it, except to learn from it. That's it.
Given, this might be kind of a silly question, but is there anything that you're doing on the side at all as a producer or writer? I know you've got a huge commitment to
David
Saul.
Cross and I are trying to work together again, so that could be fun. Thank you so much. I have a little window here until Saul starts again, and David also has a window until he gets back to work on the third season of Todd Margaret, of the increasingly poor decisions of Todd Margaret, a great series he makes in England. And he's going to go back there and make a third season. So until then, we have time to work, and we're trying to make something happen.
Mm-hmm. Cool. That's
trying.
And when does Saul go back into production?
We don't know, really. The writers started last week, probably in June or so. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Hi. So my question is kind of for all of you, but for Bob, thank you so much for everything you've done for so long. I think the foundations of comedy that you and Dave built is probably why so many of us are here, I think.
Nice.
And so, I mean, you do so much between, between Saul and Birthday Boys and the book you put out last year. And
don't forget, I make chili.
Yeah, sorry.
I take the dog to the dog park.
That's right. But for the majority of what you've done, you've kind of flown under the radar. Are you prepared for what's potentially probably going to be one of the biggest premieres of all time and the attention that's going to bring?
No pressure there.
No. Kid stuff.
Nope. I am waking up in a dream every day. That's what it feels like. And it's a good one. You know what the great thing is? I told my mom, people smile at you. Strangers. That is a weird and wonderful dream to walk through. Even if it's only for a short time, I'll take it. But it's a crazy thing to walk through life and have so many people kind of recognize you and smile at you, and it's a wonderful thing. And I wish everyone could experience it. And even if it only lasts a short time, I'll take it.
Jonathan, does that happen to you much? Do people smile at you?
They actually do.
They do smile.
It's amazing.
And, because I'm one of those people, I left New York in 1974. And my family, I grew up in D.C., but my family was South. I say hello to everyone. I go, hi, how are you? Good to see you. I go, having a bad day. I get on the elevator, and people jump. and it's just, I find it very hard not to say good morning. I just do. And so I left New York.
Gotcha. I think this is going to have to be our last question, so make it a good one.
Wow. We could stay here longer.
No pressure. Right here. First of all, How I Met Your Mother was a good show.
Oh.
Off top. Easy there.
Yeah,
but,
it was a good show. That's nice. Next.
Just speaking about, you know, how in love with the crew and directors and writers you guys are, I was just curious. You know, seeing the directing credit so far on Saul, you guys have had Michelle and Adam so far. But going
Colin
back,
Buxey, who won the Emmy last year,
right?
For Fargo.
Yep.
Yeah. Amazing.
Do you guys have a particular director that you get that script and you're like, oh, this is going to be a good one? I'm really excited about.
Well, now we feel that way about a lot of our directors, Adam Bernstein and Colin Buxey. I've just had a wonderful time with. Michelle had this. The second episode was Michelle's,
right?
And it's an incredible episode, and it's a dynamic, intense episode, and
she's Canadian.
And
on top of everything else.
She's Canadian.
Michelle takes forever. And, and Michelle is one of my dearest friends. And I say to her, I go, Michelle, Jesus Christ, why, come on. And she'll go, am I making you look good? And I go, yes, dear. And I shut up. Michelle, I just say this real quick, was one of the directions I really like from Michelle, because in many ways she's the best. She said to me one time when I was being too sentimental, she said, remember your mic. And I just thought it was a great direction.
Wow.
You know, we've got to say Vince, because, you know, Vince shot the first episode of this show.
The first episode, yeah.
And that first episode, there was a lot of discovering happening. This was very new to us, and you're going to see this Saul, Jimmy, is very dimensional where Saul, in ways Saul wasn't. So there's a lot to discover and a lot of new, and our relationship, which is so important, has so many layers, has so many aspects, was new to us, and we were shooting it for the first time. We had a few extra days, and that was well used. We rehearsed on the set. We got to run the scenes over and over and talk about them and talk about the characters. And Vince did an amazing job. That first episode.
There are so many touches. There are just so many, like, it's beautifully framed and shot. And
well, shout out to our DP.
Oh my God.
Arthur Albert.
Oh my God. We got Michael Slovis before and Arthur now. I mean, that's the way he shot this thing. I know I'm a cheerleader here, but it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys,
they're the top.
And I do just want, they are motioning for us to, but I do just want to return to one thing.
Okay.
I mean, can you imagine doing this, as much as you were joking about Albuquerque, can you imagine doing this anywhere else but?
No.
Who was joking about Albuquerque?
I don't know.
These two. Hi, Albuquerque.
We kid about
I will
Albuquerque.
be back, and I love you.
No matter what Bobby said, he loves Albuquerque.
These two rotten apples.
Please forgive him.
But I mean,
I love it, and I'm
the
good with it.
vistas, the landscape.
No, I'm with you.
The
I'm totally
texture
with
that it
you.
adds. Oh my gosh.
It's got to be there.
Now you got to
And
be
Vince
serious.
was right.
Yeah, you got to do it there. It's magnificent.
And it's one of those wonderful by necessity, because, you know, the decision to put in Albuquerque was a financial decision that the state of New Mexico.
But Albuquerque is a character in
I
Breaking
promise
Bad.
you,
It's a
Vince
character
and
in-
Peter, it was a creative decision too.
But
and
yeah,
certainly equal, at least.
But you go at our sound stages. You go to the front gate, and you go down the road and you look, and it's a vast desert. The perspective that you see forever, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it influences the piece. I mean, look at this. This is Vincent Peters' choice as well, and I was worried about the promotion, and you always want to make sure that you don't mislead the audience, and you try to give a sense of what you really made. And when I saw this, I was so happy. It's funny. It's kind of scary. It suggests a lost person.
A level of desperation.
I mean, it's just got everything that the show's got in it.
Where do you see the scary?
That guy,
he's stranded in the desert.
There's a coyote just off behind that bush. You don't see it, but I was there. But you know what I mean? It's that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, having established that there's not going to be any Walter and there's not going to be any Jesse, Can you? Is there anybody?
Well, can you? You've seen it. You want to get in trouble?
I've seen 3.
Yeah.
So
you get in trouble.
Come on, Cynthia.
On your wish list of, supporting characters, bit characters.
You know, we
Breaking
love
Bad.
everyone from Breaking Bad.
Like to see Bad. Anybody?
I mean, I don't
like to see
think
back?
you could have. I mean, Vince could prove me wrong. I'm sure
Huel.
he could. Huel is wonderful.
It's got to come back.
Write letters. Write the angry letters. But Dean,
anybody on your wish list that you would like to come back?
Well, everybody. But as far as who legitimately I could see, I mean, well, first you're gonna see some people, as you know. But I mean, I could see Dean. I mean, remember when we had the?
He's doing.
I mean, he knew my character.
He's doing Benjamin Franklin.
Dean Norris.
Oh, really?
I know he is. He's going to be.
When you
wonderful.
say doing Benjamin Franklin, exactly what do you mean?
I would like to see Benjamin Franklin.
Aaron Paul would be great. Jesse would be great.
Too old.
Aaron Paul is
That's
Jefferson.
way too old. Way too old.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Who would you like to see, Cynthia?
Well, Huel would definitely be.
Okay.
I'm going to agree with that.
Top of the list. Yeah, for sure.
I'll put in a word.
Yeah.
I know people
Gus?
who know people.
Gus.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Bill Burr.
And all of his
Bill
face.
Burr. I'm going to write an email right after this.
Great.
I'm going to get a beer.
And and on that note, I think we will say goodnight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.